First, there was Magic the Gathering. Now, there is Epic. Hello, and welcome to the Bottled Imp, exploring the realms of fantasy. This is a Bottled Imp Dice Tower edition, and we do have our own YouTube channel. You can check that out. Today, the Bottled Imp is going to be checking out Epic. Now this is a 2 to 4 player game. If you have 2 of these boxes, you can merge them and you can play up to 4 players. If you've only got 1, then you play a 2-player game. Now this is like Magic the Gathering, I'll say that straight up. I've been playing Magic the Gathering on and off for the last couple of years, and one of its downsides was, well, you have to keep buying the booster packs, and that can become quite expensive. And also it can become a little bit unfair, because sometimes you'll be having cards that the other player hasn't got, and therefore you haven't got access to them. Epic has decided to streamline that system. So let's find out if it really is epic. Epic. What's it all about? But first, what's in the box? Well, this is a very tiny box, as you can see. And that's all the box is. It's that tiny. And it contains 120 cards. And the cards are divided into 2 types. They are the token cards, which are these ones here. And you get 8 different types. There's a zombie, there's also a wolf, there is also, what is this one? This is a demon. Got to be a demon if it's fantasy. And there is a humans token, human soldier. And these are, they're not in anybody's hand to begin with. They're just set aside at the side of the playing area. And then when a card triggers them, they can come and be part of your warriors, part of your gang, if you like. The other cards are the playing cards. Now I've set it up for the 2-player game. As I say, you can buy 2 of these and actually merge them together to play up to 4 players. So with a 2-player game, what you do is you take the rest of the cards, you shuffle them, and then you deal out 30 cards to each player, and that is your deck. And that will be the deck for the game. These ones, they're out of the game for that game. And if I can say game again, I will. Let's find out how many times I can say the word game during this review. So, what is it all about? Well, as I said before, it's like Magic the Gathering. So if you're used to playing Magic the Gathering, you'll recognise it straight up. If you've never played Magic the Gathering, this might be a bit of a new game for you. And what you do is you simply deal each player 5 cards. And these are face down and these are secret. You don't reveal these until you actually play them. And on your turn, you will basically be playing one of 2 types of card. And I'll just show you them. This one here, this one is an event card, and it says that in the middle of the card. That's actually an event card. And this one here is a champion card. So that's it. You've got 2 types. You can either play an event, or you can also play a champion card. Now the other thing with these is that they come with a cost. So at the beginning of your turn, you will have 1 gold. Now they don't provide any tokens, but you don't really need them, because if you've spent your gold, then obviously you'll have no gold, and you pretty much spend the gold each turn. If you don't spend your gold, you can't carry it on until next go. So there isn't really any need to carry on having any tokens, that denote how much gold you have, because you will only ever have 1 gold at a time. And what you do is, if a card has that symbol there, which is the little gold symbol, that actually will then cost you 1. So if it's going to cost you anything, it will only cost you 1 gold. So what you do is you will simply, on your turn, you will draw a card. You will then play as many cards as you can. So remember, you've only got 1 gold. So you say I played that would cost me 1 gold. And if I had any that was 0, so for example this one here, denoted by the silver 0 there, that means that is free to play. And I can play as many of those as I like during my turn. So you will be playing your cards and resolving them, and that's pretty much what will happen on your turn. So if it's an event, what you will do is you will look at and read exactly what it says on the text box, and then you will just resolve it. if, for example, it's a champion, well, the champions are actually more permanent. With the events, they actually disappear after you've resolved them into your discard pile. Then what you do, if you're playing a champion, you will play that and you'll put it down in front of you. And what that means is your champion is actually trying to damage the other player. And that's the object of the game. You both start with 30 health points and you're trying to knock those points right down to 0. The other way that you can win the game is once you've drawn all your cards and played all your cards, if you run your own deck down to 0. So, as I say, once you've played your champion and you resolve it, then it's the other person's go. And that's pretty much how it happens. It's a back and forth kind of game. Now, if you're playing a champion, inevitably you're going to be doing damage either to someone else's champion, so they might play that card, I'll be playing that card, and you could have 3 or 4 champions that are out on your playing area at one time. And then what you do is, when it's your turn, you will simply try and attack. Now, ultimately you want to attack the player and not really their champion cards. But obviously they can block. So what you would do is you would say, right, I'm attacking, and you would tap it or turn it. I can't remember what they've called it, but in Magic it's called tapping, but they're not allowed to use that terminology. So you would turn it to denote that you are attacking. Then the defender or the blocker would actually say, yes, I'm going to block. So they will choose one of their champions and block. And what that means is then both cards will actually deal damage to each other. So if in this case, this one deals 10 damage, and as you can see it's got a red 10, and that's how much damage it can deal. It also has a defense, which is in blue, and in this case it's 10 as well, so this card is quite a powerful card. This one, for example, deals 5 and 5 attack and 5 defense. So what will happen is they deal at the same time. So this card will actually beat this card. It will deal 10 damage here, and this one will deal 5 damage here. And then because this one has died, this one goes to your discard pile. And this one is actually, you're meant to turn it all the way around to denote that you've blocked. And that means that that can't block again that go. Now what also happens is, if you had multiple attacks, so say I was attacking with those 3 cards, just one blocker can block the whole attack. So obviously, tactically, you'd kind of go, well, I'm going to attack one-on-one, because then that means if there's no other champions available to block for that other player, this damage will get through. So the 5 on that one, and let's say it was a 4, 9 points of damage, if unblocked, would actually go through to the player, and then you denote that on however you're going to score it. It doesn't come with any scoring mechanism. You either have to write it on a pen and paper or use a dice, that kind of thing. And that is pretty much it. Now, my thoughts of the game are, well, I'm actually confused with it. I'm not sure who this is aimed for. If you're into Magic the Gathering and you love Magic the Gathering, well, this is a streamed down, cut down version of Magic the Gathering. And if you're going to play Magic the Gathering and you regularly play it, then you like Magic the Gathering. You're not going to want to play this because this is a streamed down version. You want your proper Magic fix. If, on the other hand, you used to play Magic, but you kind of, like me, trying to keep up with all the boosters, I never really did that because I just thought, well, that's too much money each time to spend out on these booster packs. And each year they change, the rules and what's allowed and what isn't allowed, and it became more of an arms race if you're playing against people, who has the better deck. Then again, I'm not 100% sure that you would go for this, because the plus point, yes, you can play this straight out the box. There's 120 cards, you can play them, and there's an even playing field because you're just using the same cards. But my problem with that is that Magic the Gathering do their own version of that. You can buy pre-made decks. In fact, you can buy them where there's 2 pre-made decks that pretty much, work well together and are fairly balanced against playing each other. So if you used to play Magic and you want to get back into it, you'd probably buy a pre-made deck. The other thing with Magic the Gathering is a lot of people that play it like building their own deck. When they're not playing, they will build their own deck and spend time building their own deck. Whereas with this, obviously, if you enjoy building your own deck, well then you can't really, because, well, you can. I guess you can play it where you build your own deck, but they're randomly dealt out to begin with, and there aren't any extra cards that your opponent won't have. If you have never played Magic the Gathering, that's maybe where they're going with this, who they're trying to attract. Because if you've never played Magic the Gathering, then you're not going to be kind of confused with all the terminology, because they use different terminology pretty much for the same special abilities. So there are things like Tribute, there's things like Blitz. In Magic the Gathering, Blitz is basically, I can't remember what it's called now, Rush or something like that, but basically it means that you can play your champion straight away. Because in this, when you play your champion, you're deploying, so it means you can't use it straight away. Whereas if you have Blitz, then you can use it straight away. But then obviously if you're used to Magic the Gathering, you'll be using all that terminology, so it then gets a bit confusing. My other downside to this is the fact that it is, although it's relatively simple, the rule book isn't 100% clear, and it is kind of tiny writing. Maybe that's just me getting older. But there are some bits that I wasn't 100% clear with that could have been clearer. I had to kind of look that up. Plus, you have all the list of the actual special abilities and powers that are on the cards. They're listed at the back. Now, there's quite a lot of them. There's about 20, I think. Now, if you're completely new to this type of playing, then having 20 of these Tribute and Blitz and Loyalty, what does that mean? I don't know what it means. I have to keep looking it up. So we were constantly referring to what that was, and it just slowed the whole game down. I probably would recommend that if they had just used, say, 10 at the most, or even 5, you'd still get quite a good amount of strategy out of it. Now, I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to cut it down quite a lot. They're trying to streamline Magic. But for me, I was just left a little bit confused by it. So, what do I think? Well, it's kind of got my interest in playing Magic the Gathering back up again, but I would probably then go and buy 2 pre-made decks. If you've never played Magic, I would probably say try before you buy. The plus point is it is relatively cheap to buy this. It's £10, what's that, $20? I don't know, $15? So it is pretty cheap to buy. Anyway, Bottled Imp verdict? Confused. Thank you so much for watching the Bottled Imp Dice Tower edition of Epic, the tiny little card game that is meant to be epic. Unfortunately for me, it didn't feel as epic as I wanted it to be. Anyway, we have our own YouTube channel, so check that out. We're on all the usual social media, etc, etc. But for now, as always, keep it unreal, fellow imps. Keep it unreal.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.